When working with API gateways, we always want to make sure that the API gateway offers us many different features. And we want to make sure that we don't need to code as much as we used to do in the past, because we want to delegate some of those tasks to our own API gateway. And one of the things that we do many times when working with AI is precisely making different requests, making different questions in different ways. And it may be interesting for us to find a standardized way to do that. And one technique that we usually do to make things standard is to use templates. So we try to make templates out of many things. And it is important for us to do those templates because it assures us that we are keeping up to standards and keeping up the same format. Well, for AI, it is not that different. We want to make sure that when we are asking questions to a certain bot, we want to make sure that these questions suffer the less amount of bias as possible. For example, that is one of the goals that we can achieve with making sure that the questions are made in a certain way with a certain format. And for that, the Kong API Gateway offers us the possibility to work with a plugin called the API Prompt Template plugin. The API Prompt Template plugin allows us to make sure that when we make questions to the different LLM providers out there, that we keep up to a certain standard. And this is not very different than configuring other AI plugins. So what we have to do to make sure that this works as a first step is to select our large language model provider. In this case, we are looking at an example of using Gemini, and we are also going to see an example on how to make questions. Now, if we go to the web page, we will find here in the AI prompt template page how this plugin normally works. So we see here different examples. We already see here, for example, a payload which talks about a prompt, and then we select a template in that prompt, and then we select values for certain properties. And if we go to the configuration interface reference, we can see that we've got a lot of different fields that we can configure. And important here to understand is that this plugin is not exactly dependent on the large language model provider itself. It is something that is coupled to the ai-proxy plugin. So once the ai-proxy plugin is correctly configured, there shouldn't be a problem in using this plugin for us. Now, if we go here to using the plugin, we will find basic configuration examples. As usual, here we can find this example that tells us how to use these templates. And we can see already that if we do this configuration, we are able then to configure certain templates with a certain name. And we will also be able to tell then what kind of template are we going to use. Here we can see the standard type of message that we send normally via Kong API Gateway, which basically consists on handing in the role of the person that asks the question and the content of the question that is being asked to the large language model chat. And we've got here two different examples, one for the prompt and one for the messages that we can send to our bot. And then we can see also here examples of using it. What we are going to do is our own example. And I have already an example prepared for that. And that example is this one over here. If we go to our Kong Test Drives project, we will find different examples of different other plugins that I've been trying to use. And here is the one that we are interested in, the readme AI template.md file. And here we will find just a simple configuration on how to configure the AI template plugin. For now, let me just start Kong. Alright, now we've got the Kong gateway started from scratch. And now what we want to do first is, as usual, create a route for it. And for that, we need to create a service. So we first create our service. It's not any different. If you saw this video over here, you know exactly how to configure the service and the route. So let me just configure the route here. We've got the service and the route now. The second part is configuring the AI proxy. which is this one over here. And for that, we will just start here, and then we enable the AI plugin, the AI proxy. Now I've got the proxy, the service, and the route running. And what we now need is to run the configuration for our AI template plugin. And for that, we just need to run this command over here. But before we run that, let's first have a look at what it actually does. We've got here the configuration of the AI prompt template plugin. And we've got in the config field different subfields that are going to enable the usage of this plugin. The first one is the allow untemplated requests, which is set to true. What we are saying here is basically, although that we have this plugin configured, if our payload still matches the simple messages being sent, then it will interpret those requests in the same way as it used to do before, and it will not go through the AI prompt template plugin. However, if we send the correct payload indicating which template we are using and which fields we are using, then it will use that template, and then it will replace the placeholders of the different fields we want to fill in our templated messages. So for example, in the template movie chart, I see here that my content is going to say as a first message, you love type films. So you love a certain type of films. So we are setting up the chatbot to understand that we are fans of a certain film. And that means that the answer needs to be given to us in that kind of way. Then the second message will be the name of the most exciting film of that year. This is a subjective question, and it will depend on this here over here. So we've got year and type as two different fields to fill in our template message to be sent to our chatbot. In the second part, we've got the award chat. And the award chat simply asks, by first setting up the chatbot to understand that we are a fan of a certain franchise. So for example, Star Wars, Star Trek, Indiana Jones, The Lord of the Rings, all of these different franchises that have a lot of different sequels and films and offshoots and all of those things. What it's going to ask is, how many awards does a particular film in that franchise has won? So it's got franchise as a field, and it also has the film as a field. And this is basically it. The AI prompt template plugin doesn't really need any special configuration in regards to connecting to a certain large language model provider. And that is because it simply redirects certain requests to go through this plugin to then perform the requests to our large language model provider. If we now configure this plugin, it will be available for us. You can see the response here after initializing the plugin. We see that it is a successful response, and we can see that the two different templates are now available for us to use in our API gateway. And so we already know this from previous videos. We know that the endpoint is Gemini. This is our route that we defined here at the top, the Gemini route. And that means that the route is available for us to perform requests, which will go through the AI proxy, and then it will also go through this plugin in order to make sure that the requests get in a certain format to our large language model provider. If we now run the first example, it will simply ask how many awards has the Return of the Jedi won, knowing that we are fans of the franchise Star Wars. If we run this, we will see that our Gemini bot answers us that while Return of the Jedi didn't win a huge number of major awards compared to some other films, it did receive several. The exact number depends on what you consider an award. Example given, do you include nominations, smaller critic awards, etc.? It won at least one significant award, an Academy Award and Oscar for Best Visual Effects. It received numerous other nominations for various awards, but didn't win them all. To give a precise number requires a very detailed accounting of all award shows and categories considered. I think the bot is right. I think this makes sense. This is an answer that we could get from the makeup of that template and the resulting query to our chatbot. In the second example, we are saying to the chatbot that we are fans of action films. And based on that, we also want to know which one of these films was the most exciting in 1990. This should be a subjective question, but let's just see what our chatbot, our Gemini chatbot, has to say to us about that. If we run this, it takes a while and then it answers it. Picking the single most exciting film of 1990 is subjective and depends on individual preferences. But strong contenders for that title include Die Hard 2. It upped the ante from the original with a larger scale and more elaborate action sequence at an airport. Many consider it a classic, even if not quite as beloved as the first. Total Recall, a visually stunning and imaginative sci-fi action film with memorable set pieces and Arnold Schwarzenegger at his peak. The exciting elements come from all the blend of action, mystery, and mind-bending plot twists. While other action films came out in 1990, these two stand out for their action sequences, spectacle, and overall impact on the genre. The most exciting is truly a matter of personal taste. So this is one example of a subjective response that the Gemini chatbot can give us. But now we also said in a parameter before that allow untemplated requests was set to true. So that means we can perform other kinds of requests just like we would normally do directly to the AI proxy. And this is the one that has messages, we specify the role and the content, but now it is not a templated request. One thing curious about this request that we are about to make is we are not only just going to check that it works, but we are asking a question now directly to the chatbot without the template plugin. When I ask this question to the Gemini chatbot, and I've also tried others, we will get a surprising answer. We get the Thompson Twins played a song called Stay on These Roads in 1988. It was from their album Big Trash. Let's have a look at Big Trash on the internet. Big Trash, the Thompson Twins. The Thompson Twins, Big Trash. And we can see that Big Trash, this album, doesn't have a single song called Stay on These Roads. And if we look at the Wikipedia page, we've got here the album, and we've got the track listing. And there is no Stay on These Roads. Stay on These Roads. Stay on These Roads is actually a song that was played by none other than the band Aha. But I couldn't find a way to get the chatbot from Gemini or others to get this question correct. The funny thing is, chatbots usually get questions right. But what I see is that when it comes to art, when it comes to music, when it comes to other things that are less well known, they fail quite miserably. But that isn't to say that they are not working. We are asking this question, we are getting this answer from Gemini. It's just that we need to be aware that AI does make mistakes. And this is one classic case of it. The actual reason why chatbots seem to be so ignorant about Stay on These Roads, this song in particular, and perhaps a whole series of other examples, could be, perhaps it has to do with the fact that not many people want to ask this question anyways in chat with chatbots. Perhaps that's also why AI cannot grow that much in these aspects. But what is important is that we understand the dependency that AI has also on us. If we search for something a lot and we provide answers and we interact with AI, then AI will grow in that aspect. But not so much in other aspects like this one, for example. And of course, not many people listen to AHA these days. And so it's important to know that a chatbot isn't really our encyclopedia. They do help. They can make our lives easier because they access information much quicker. And with templating, we can access information much quicker because we only have to fill out a few parameters and we're done. So it makes it easier for us to make a lot of different questions to our chatbots. Alright, so this was my introduction to this plugin. I found it to be very interesting and useful. I can see many cases where this can be used, but of course there are some pitfalls to using it because, of course, how many times would you want to use this plugin and in what kind of use cases would you want to apply it to? And are there many real use cases for this plugin at all? But in any case, I thought it was an interesting way to handle information when we are dealing with AI. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope this was useful for you, and I hope this can help you choose between API gateways and the best one for you, and maybe that this has given you an idea for you to do your own thing and do your own plugin or use your own kind of idea in your own kind of setting, because it doesn't have to be Kong, it can be any kind of thing. This is just a way that we have of dealing with chatbots, and also guarantee that we use some kind of standard when we are interacting with them. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like. It is important for us. It is important for the channel. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel because I will be putting a lot more videos on it. I've been doing a lot of these videos and I want to make a lot more. Make sure to read the description. Make sure to understand everything that I have written there. There will be lots of useful information in there, and also the links to the Git repository where this project is and everything that we used to make these examples. And until the next video, make sure to stay tech, keep programming, be kind, and have a good one. Bye.
As a short disclaimer, I'd like to mention that I'm not associated or affiliated with any of the brands eventually shown, displayed, or mentioned in this video.